Alice Through the Looking Glass, Part 2. The Lion and the Unicorn. Alice is watching soldiers stumble through the woods. Even the horses are having trouble navigating through the chaos. The White King is keeping track of the number of soldiers. He's sent over 4,000 soldiers but couldn't send all the horses. Alice spots a messenger named Hire. He's an Anglo-Saxon messenger with unique attitude. The king introduces Alice to the messenger. The messenger is too focused on the king to notice Alice. The king asks for a sandwich, and the messenger delivers. He even asks for another sandwich, but there's only hay left.